to allow the opposition to operate freely. Pro-democracy activists staged another sit-in, meanwhile, at the Pearl Roundabout on Tuesday. The area has become a focal point for demonstrations. It was the scene of violence last week that left 8 people dead. On Monday night, a rally was held in the capital in support of the government. 2 high-ranking U.S. politicians have pledged their support for political change in Tunisia. Senators John McCain and Joe Lieberman met various government and business leaders in Tunis on Monday. They also met with the country's caretaker Prime Minister Mohamed Ghannouchi. Former U.S. presidential candidate John McCain said his country remained committed to its military relationship with Tunisia. 2 Iranian Navy vessels have begun crossing the Suez Canal. The ships entered the strategic waterway on Tuesday after getting approval from Egypt's defense ministry. The frigate and an accompanying supply ship are en route to Syria. Israel has objected to the planned voyage, calling it, quote, a provocation. In Iran, Mehdi Karoubi, an opposition leader there, has said on his website that security forces have detained his son. 31 people have been convicted on conspiracy and murder charges relating to the train fire in Godhra, which killed 60 Hindu pilgrims. Police had beefed up security to prevent further unrest as a result of the verdict, which acquitted 63 people. In 2002, the fire led to anti-Muslim riots, which killed around 1,000 people between February and April. The Rafah crossing is the only lifeline many Palestinians have to the outside world, but it's been closed since the revolution in Egypt. Nicole Johnson is in Gaza now to see how they're clearing the backlog.
Waiting for hours and hoping to cross into Egypt. This requires great patience. The Rafah border crossing has been closed since Egypt's revolution began over 3 weeks ago. But 3 days ago, Palestinians stranded in Egypt were allowed back into Gaza. And on Tuesday, the border reopened both ways.
I'm so happy for Rafah doors. I will be returned to my studying in Cairo after 5 weeks in Gaza Strip. I'm so happy.
I think it's going to be a good government and help Palestinians by opening the borders, by offering a lot of facilities for Palestinians.
Rafah border is the only exit for Gazans that's not controlled by Israel. It's a vitally important lifeline. 14-year-old Abdullah Olday has been waiting to leave Gaza for an operation in Cairo for 1 month.
Today we heard the crossing was opened. We were supposed to leave 1 month ago. We are still waiting. Until now, my son has no coordination to leave.
Only 300 Palestinians will make it across the border today. And that's because Egypt has a strict criteria on who it will allow in. So Palestinians are hoping that eventually this border crossing, their gate to the world, will be free for everyone to use. Nicole Johnston, AlJazeera, Rafah.
All right, let's return now to the uprising in Libya and bring you up to speed with the latest developments on that story. The Turkish Prime Minister warning that Libya's government is making a mistake and says if it chooses to disregard its people's demands, then it's making a mistake. The United Nations rights chief, meanwhile, has raised the possibility of crimes against humanity in Libya. The Egyptian army has beefed up its military presence on the border with Libya. And the Arab League is also expected to hold an emergency meeting on Tuesday to discuss the situation in the troubled country. Now, we have more information on the bombardment of Tripoli by military jets on Monday night. Our sources say that the bombing was focused on army ammunition depots near Tripoli. Jets also targeted command centers. It seems to stop any troops joining the protesters or perhaps to stop protesters getting hold of weapons. And witnesses say helicopter gunships were used to fire on the streets in order to scare demonstrators away. Still with me here in the studio is Awad El-Fayrouti from the Libyan Information Center here in Doha. Let's talk about the latest development, and that's a significant one. It's the U.S. ambassador, the Libyan ambassador, rather, to the United States stepping down. Is this going to be a game changer, you think?
I think it is significant, as I told you before. I think other ambassadors will follow suit and we expect more people to defect Gaddafi's regime. And I think this is the last nails in Gaddafi's coffin. These people are considered in the past are the closest aides to him, and they are from the closest circles, and they're leaving him, and this is a great news for the Libyan people.
Now, we also heard reports that the eastern border of Libya is now under protesters' control, that the regime is no longer in control of the east. We've heard reports indeed of Benghazi being in the hands of the population there. Is there any region at all that is still loyal to Gaddafi? Where are his strongholds still?
It's the only stronghold, as I told you before, is his the barracks he lives in now in Bab al-Aziziyah, which is expected to be fallen any time. Gaddafi's regime, they have no presence in the whole east. Well, probably they have one or two holes in Sirte. That's his.
But as we're looking at the picture there of Gaddafi. It's very unclear where he is, but he says he's still in Tripoli and that he's still in charge. Do you really think that's the case?
Well, what do you expect from him to say? He's got to say that. He's got to show that he's still in power. But I think this is. For me, this is another sign of his weakness, and it's another sign that the guy is going. I think he's now preparing himself for a safe haven, which I doubt that he'll find anywhere now.
But if he goes, how do you see the situation evolving? Should we expect more chaos if he goes?
No, not at all. You can't have worse situation than we live now, by any standard. So whatever situation we have will be much better than the one we have now. And as I told you, Libya have a great assets of good people, good educated people, and we shouldn't have any problem.
Now, who could step in to take over briefly?
It's very difficult now to say who will step in. But it shouldn't be any problem to find somebody to lead the country.
Okay, thank you very much, Awad, for your insight. Awad El-Touri from the Libyan Information Center here in Doha. All right, coming up on Al Jazeera, the unrest in Bahrain results in the cancellation of its biggest sporting event. But will Formula One ever return to the Gulf State? Details of that and the rest of the sports news next. Stay with us.
The man who's never shown his face to the world is going to give Al Jazeera his first ever media interview. It's not the lack of African men and women willing to work for peace in their continent that was behind the setbacks of their mission. Just 2 days ago, the Interior Minister said these suicide bombers are on the run and have no control over where and when to attack. A powerful tribe that can still fight and show its might has decided to opt for peace. Mohammed Al Jazeera.